They say love is blind, but sometimes it's not blindness, it's willful ignorance. It's choosing to look past the red flags, the subtle digs, the moments you felt a little too small just to keep the peace. Just to keep him. I didn't realize I was shrinking until there was almost nothing left of me. My name is Harper Quinn, and for 5 years, I believed I was in a forever relationship. The kind you build Pinterest boards around. The kind where you sacrifice for each other, because that's what real love is. At least, that's what I told myself. I met Nathan when I was 20, wide-eyed and full of dreams, navigating college with a double major and a part-time barista job. He was magnetic, older, confident, and full of big ideas. He talked like someone who'd already made it, even if his bank account said otherwise. He'd pull me into his world of tech meetups and future plans, and I ate it up. We were opposites, but I thought that was the magic. Where I was gentle, he was bold. Where I hesitated, he charged ahead. It felt exciting, empowering, until it wasn't. After college, we moved in together. I wanted a cozy apartment with light curtains and hand-me-down mugs. He wanted sleek minimalism and a wall-mounted TV bigger than our rent. I compromised. I always did. When he decided to quit his job to launch a startup, I picked up extra shifts and even dipped into my small savings to cover bills. He said, "You're my ride or die, Harper. I couldn't do this without you." It was enough. Or, at least, I convinced myself it was. But it was his world we were living in. And slowly, I began to disappear. He didn't like when I wore certain colors. Said they clashed with his aesthetic. I stopped. He'd talk over me in conversations, correct me mid-sentence, tell me I was too emotional when I cried at sad commercials or got frustrated when he forgot things that mattered to me. Our anniversary. My job interview. My dad's surgery. "Don't take everything so personally," he'd say with that smug smirk. "You're too sensitive." But I wasn't. I was just human. Still, I stayed. I thought maybe if I loved harder, supported him more, he'd finally see me the way I saw him. As his person. His future. His partner in every way. Then came his brother's wedding. It was a glamorous event in Miami. Destination vibes, designer gowns, champagne flowing like water. I'd been looking forward to it for months. It was the first time in years we'd be around both of our families, dressed up and smiling, like the power couple I always imagined we were. I bought a soft blue dress. One Nathan had picked from a boutique. He said it made me look simple in a good way. I clung to the compliment, ignoring the backhanded tone. I curled my hair, added a little shimmer to my makeup, and told myself this weekend might change things. Maybe being around his family, seeing all the love in the air, it would bring us closer. I was wrong. At the rehearsal dinner, we were seated with his extended cousins, lawyers, influencers, people who smelled like money and networking. Conversation turned to marriage. One of his aunts playfully nudged Nathan and said, "You two have been together forever. Are we getting another wedding soon?" He laughed. Not the warm, familiar laugh I knew, but a dry, dismissive chuckle. Then he leaned back in his chair, arm draped around mine like a claim, and said loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Harper's great, but she's not exactly wife material, you know." The laughter died. Eyes widened. Someone choked on their wine. I froze. Did I mishear him? Was this some sort of joke? But he didn't correct himself. He didn't even glance at me. He just kept talking, cracking jokes, changing the subject while I sat there, numb, nauseous, and humiliated. My ears rang. My chest tightened. I felt small in that moment. Smaller than I'd ever felt. Smaller than the time he told me I was too ordinary to go viral, or when he joked that I had the personality of a beige wall. I always brushed it off before. But this was a public execution of my worth. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the hotel ceiling, listening to him snore beside me, wondering how I got here. How I became a woman who stayed with a man who mocked her in front of strangers. He didn't apologize the next morning. He just said, "You know I didn't mean it like that. Don't be dramatic, Harper." But I wasn't being dramatic. I was being broken. And broken women either shatter or sharpen. I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't scream. I simply packed my bag the moment we got back home. I didn't even take everything. Just my clothes, a few photos, and the journals I used to write in before I forgot who I was. When I walked out that door, I wasn't walking away from a man. I was walking toward the woman I forgot how to be. And I had no idea where I was going. But I knew I'd never come back. You never really know who you are until the world stops spinning, and all you have left is the sound of your own heartbreak echoing in an empty room. After I left Nathan, I didn't go home to warm lights and soft bedsheets. I went straight to my best friend Marla's tiny one-bedroom apartment, where I curled up on her old leather couch surrounded by half-unpacked boxes from her recent move. She didn't ask questions that first night. She just handed me a blanket, poured me a glass of wine, and said, "Whenever you're ready." It took me a week to say anything more than thanks, or I'll be out of your hair soon. Because I was humiliated. I didn't just leave a man, I left a version of myself I had built my whole identity around. I didn't know how to exist without being Nathan's girlfriend. I'd sacrificed so much for him, time, energy, dreams I quietly shelved while cheering on his. And now, I had no plan, no savings, no job that paid enough to get me a place of my own. I was 27 and starting from scratch. And worst of all, he wasn't even reaching out. Not a single call. No apology. No, please come back. I guess I really wasn't wife material to him. The words haunted me. The breakdown. The rebuild. I started taking freelance gigs. Small stuff. Copywriting for shady detox brands. Editing resumes for tech bros on LinkedIn. I was doing anything to keep my dignity intact while I quietly unraveled every night behind Marla's bathroom door. Then one evening, she walked into the living room holding her phone like it was a live grenade. "Harper, you need to see this." It was a clip from some bro-y entrepreneur podcast. Nathan was the guest. He was talking about failure and resilience. All the usual buzzwords. But then he said, "I dated someone who meant well, but honestly, she couldn't keep up. No ambition. She wanted to be the kind of woman who waits for a ring. Golden retriever energy. Sweet, but not someone you build a legacy with. Golden retriever energy." That's what I had been reduced to. I didn't cry this time. I didn't scream. I just sat there, frozen, letting the words burn themselves into my memory like a scar. Because scars don't go away, but they do make you tougher. Revenge never starts loud. It grows in silence. That night, I made a decision. No more pity parties. No more waiting to be chosen. I'd rebuild, but not just to survive. I'd rise so high that he'd choke on every word he ever spoke about me. With Marla's help, I redid my resume and landed a contract gig at a scrappy little media startup run by her cousin, James. I was overqualified and underpaid, but I didn't care. I needed in. And once I was in, I came alive. I pitched bold ideas. I worked late nights and showed up early. I took their stagnant social campaign and flipped it into a viral movement using only $300 and a TikTok strategy no one believed would work. It did. By month 3, I was managing a small team. By month 6, I was presenting directly to their investors. People started remembering my name for me. Not for who I dated. Not for how nice I was. But for what I did. I rented my own one-bedroom apartment in a walk-up with thin walls and the sound of dogs barking down the hall. But it was mine. I bought my own plates. Hung up my own curtains. Cooked dinner for one and realized I actually liked my own company. Meanwhile, Nathan was spiraling. Word started circulating that his startup, once the darling of pitch nights and crowdfunding platforms, was tanking. Investors were pulling out. Users were dropping. There were even whispers of data fabrication, though nothing official. I wasn't celebrating yet. But I wasn't sad either. Then one Thursday morning, James called me into his office. "We're vetting a startup for partnership," he said. "Their founder's a bit of a personality, but they've got some buzz. Can you join the pitch review? You're good at spotting BS." I opened the pitch deck. And there it was. Nathan's name. Nathan's face. Nathan's company. I laughed. Out loud. In front of my boss. Something funny? James asked. I looked at him and smiled. Just a little déjà vu. When Nathan walked into that conference room 3 days later, wearing his tailored navy suit and fake charm, he didn't notice me at first. But when he did, when his eyes locked onto mine sitting across the table, professional, calm, untouchable, it was like watching someone realize they'd just stepped on live wire. He stuttered, blinked twice, tried to regain control. But it was my room now. And I had questions. Hard ones. Numbers he couldn't back up. Growth charts with obvious inconsistencies. Claims that didn't pass a basic Google check. The same man who once said I wasn't driven enough was now drowning under my scrutiny. And I didn't even have to raise my voice. There's something deliciously poetic about watching a man drown in the same arrogance he once weaponized against you. That boardroom moment stayed with me for weeks. Not because I felt victorious, no, not yet. But because it was the first time I saw Nathan for what he truly was. Small. Not just professionally. Emotionally. A man so deeply convinced of his own brilliance that any woman who didn't orbit him was dismissed as insignificant. I was no longer that woman. After the pitch, James pulled me aside. You knew him, he asked.
I didn't lie.
We used to date. His eyebrows lifted slightly, but he nodded. You handled that like a sniper. And I did. Because real power? It doesn't scream. It just moves. 3 weeks later, I was on my lunch break, scrolling through grant applications for a digital women in leadership campaign I'd been asked to co-lead, when a message pinged on my phone. Nathan.
Hey.
Do you have a few minutes? I'd really like to talk. I stared at the message like it was a ghost. I hadn't heard from him since the pitch review. He must have thought the dust had settled. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another text. Nathan, I think I owe you an apology. Can we meet for coffee? Just talk. There was a time I would have dropped everything for that message. A time I would have replayed every word, called Marla, agonized over what to wear. That time was dead. But I was curious. We met at a coffee shop. He looked thinner, a little worn out. His smile was shaky, too polished. The charm was back, but faded, like a suit gone through one too many dry cycles. I've been doing a lot of thinking, he began.
About us.
About how I treated you. I didn't say anything. He leaned forward. I was immature, selfish. I couldn't see how lucky I was.
You grounded me.
You made me better. And I destroyed that. I sipped my iced latte. You said I wasn't wife material.
He winced.
I was being performative, Harper. That crowd, those investors, they expect bravado. I didn't mean it the way it came out. You said I had golden retriever energy. He looked down. I know. I was a coward. But I've changed. And I see you now. I really do. Then came the kicker. He pulled out a folder. I'm rebooting the company. Clean slate. New model. New branding. I want you to be part of it. Creative lead. Equal stake. I blinked. You want me to help you rebuild the company you tanked?
No.
I want to rebuild it with you. You're brilliant. You've grown so much. We could be a powerhouse, Harper. Oh, the irony. Now I was wife material. Business material. Valuable because I had proven I could win without him. But what he didn't understand was, I didn't need revenge through proximity. I wanted distance. I wanted detachment so complete that his name would one day feel like trivia. I smiled gently. You're right about one thing. I've grown. Then I pushed the folder back across the table. But I don't build for men who tear me down first. He blinked, caught off guard. Harper, be reasonable. I am. That's the difference now. I don't confuse kindness with weakness anymore. I stood, leaving my half-full drink behind. As I turned to walk away, I paused. Oh, and for what it's worth? You were right about one thing back then. I wasn't wife material. His brows lifted, a glimmer of smugness flickering. I smiled one last time. I was legacy material. You just didn't have the vision to see it. Later that night, I got a call from James. We passed on Nathan's company, he said. Investors weren't comfortable with the numbers. I didn't gloat. I just said, Good call. Then I hung up, closed my laptop, and returned to drafting my launch pitch for a project that was mine. Entirely mine. A digital platform empowering women in underrepresented industries, backed by real funding, real allies, and a growing waitlist of future founders. The tagline? You don't need permission to build. Closure doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes, it's just the quiet satisfaction of knowing the one who doubted you can't even get close enough to watch you shine. My name is Harper Quinn, and by the time Nathan tried to crawl his way back into my orbit for the second time, I wasn't just surviving, I was leading. The women's platform I had co-founded with James's help. It wasn't just growing, it was exploding. We'd partnered with 2 major nonprofits, landed a podcast deal, and I was invited to speak at a leadership summit in Austin as a keynote guest. I stood on a stage in a navy blue jumpsuit, looking out over hundreds of women, entrepreneurs, single moms, STEM grads, side hustlers, all there to hear how I built something from the ashes of being told I wasn't wife material. And I told them the truth. I told them about the day someone looked me in the face and said I wasn't enough, and how I chose to become more than he could imagine. But the past has a way of crashing the party. 2 days after my summit speech went viral on TikTok, I received an email through my press account. Subject line: Urgent. Legal claim from N. Creighton Holdings. I laughed out loud. I thought it was a scam. But when our legal team reviewed it, they confirmed Nathan was attempting to file an intellectual property claim, alleging that my platform was based on ideas he'd once shared with me in private while we were dating. His claim was flimsy. No documentation. No proof. Just a desperate man throwing rocks at a castle he couldn't enter. Still, it shook me. Not because I feared losing, but because it reminded me how fragile success can feel when your abuser tries to twist the truth. I'd built everything clean. My decks, my team, my pitch, my brand, all original, all documented. But the timing was strategic. We were just days away from closing our next round of funding. If word got out about a pending lawsuit, even a baseless one, it could scare investors. Nathan knew that. And for the first time in a long time, I was furious again. Not sad. Not small. Furious. I didn't hide. I went public. I met with my PR advisor and told her, we're not playing defense. Within 24 hours, I released a personal blog post titled, When Your Ex Tries to Sue Your Success, a candid, emotional recount of my story, how this platform was born, and how women are too often targeted, threatened, and silenced by men who once underestimated them. It spread like wildfire. Hundreds of women shared their stories in the comments. Thousands reposted. Within 48 hours, a hashtag #NotYourProperty hashtag trended. The investors? They stayed. In fact, we picked up 2 new angels because of it. Nathan's claim? Withdrawn by his own counsel. Quietly.
Quickly.
No apology, no follow-up. Because now the world was watching. The real revenge was never him failing. It was me thriving without permission. A month later, I got another message from Nathan. This time, not an email. A handwritten letter. Sent to our office. It was desperate, emotional. He wrote that he was in therapy. That he had hit rock bottom. That he finally understood how deeply he had hurt me. He didn't ask for a second chance, not romantically at least. He asked for coffee. Just to talk. I never replied. I didn't need to. Because real healing isn't about proving someone wrong. It's about no longer needing their validation at all. And me? I moved into a sun-drenched apartment overlooking the city skyline. The kind of place I once thought was out of my league. I made space for joy, real joy. Lazy Sunday mornings. Salsa classes. Spontaneous road trips. Fresh journals. I spoke at 3 more conferences. I mentored 6 women starting their own ventures. I even adopted a golden retriever. His name? Legacy. Because now I wear that insult like armor. In the end, Nathan was right. I wasn't wife material for a man like him. I was too bold. Too emotional. Too ambitious. Too much of everything he couldn't control. And I thank him for it now. Because when he broke me down, he did something he never intended. He built the woman who would rise. Not for revenge, but for herself. Don't let someone else define your potential. Don't let love shrink your voice. Don't let humiliation be the end of your story. Use it, because sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming unreachable. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.